Alright, so one of the most iconic starters in the game. Again, we are here for Master Premier Cup. Now this means there are no Legendaries and there are also no Mythicals, which also means that Charizard might be good. Anyways, if you guys are wondering, you haven't seen many Charizards around a Master Premier just because it's not really that... It might be good. I've tried a team that actually can work in Master League. However, with Dragon Breath, it makes everything a little more interesting. Now, the thing about Master Premier Cup is that in Master Premier Cup, you have those... Charizard only maxed out at 28.9, so it's not a very high stat pool. And its weaknesses, you got Magnezones running around like no tomorrow, so Magnezone is going to come out a lot and take on Charizard. You also have a lot of things that throw rocks at you, for example, like Smackdown Rhyperiors. You also have Machamps with Rock Slide, and don't get me started with Swampert and or those Gyarados with Octail that are running around. So Charizard's really interesting in Master Premier just because there's a lot of things that check it, but at the same time there are some resistances. Those Togekiss, you do resist Charm, you do resist those counters, you also resist Flamethrower from Togekiss, and you do resist those you do resist Earthquake from Metagross, and you resist Meteor Mash. So Charizard can have play, it might not be, but we'll take a look here for Master Premier. Anyways, its community just came out, so you likely already have a perfect one or high enough one that you want to try for Master Premier. Now, word of warning, for you to be really viable, you need Blast Burn. So just be really careful and be really mindful. Yes, you need Blast Burn in order to make Charizard really good in Master Premier. The reason being is because with Dragon Breath, you need Blast Burn because you'll see why. Blast Burn's a lot better in a lot of things for Master Premier. So the reason why Dragon Breath Charizard is really interesting is because it's not actually ranked in official PvPoke rankings. Usually something only makes the rankings is if it's actually good enough in the meta to rank in certain scenarios, and unfortunately Dragon Breath Charizard does not. Regular Fire Spin Charizard actually is the one that takes the cake, mostly because Fire Spin Charizard, one, you get stabbed with Fire Spin, and two, Fire actually takes out a lot of things like Metagross, Mamoswine, Exeggutor, and Conkeldurr. Now, you lose against meta-relevant matchups like Dragonite, etc. with Fire Spin Charizard, so we're going to see exactly just what Charizard with Dragon Breath actually flips. Again, PvPoke doesn't rank it because it's not strong enough, but let's see if there's anything interesting enough in the Matrix that actually something flips for Dragon Breath Charizard. Alright, so for this video, I got regular Charizard, I got the Shadow version. We got Blast Burn if you want to spend the Elite TM, and Overheat. Now, Premier Cup's kind of interesting because, like I said, you didn't show in the rankings for Master League, for Master Premier on PvPoke, so let's just see how good it is. I got the 2 shield already preset here, I got the meta here, and then here we go. So, Dragon Breath Charizard actually beats the Mirror Charizard. As you see, very strong rating. Shadow does not, unfortunately. You beat Conkeldurr in the 2 shield. And interesting enough, usually if you have Dragon Breath, you beat Dragonite. But unfortunately, you do not with Dragon Breath Charizard, which is kind of sucks. Actually, if you look, it's even worse with Shadow Charizard. You get absolutely obliterated. Now, you do beat Garchomp, interesting. So, here's what's weird. So, you only beat the Earthquake version. You actually lose against the really standard version. So, Dragon Breath Charizard actually doesn't beat dragons. Normally, with like Gyarados or with like Dragonite, you'll beat these matchups, but not with Dragon Breath Charizard. You beat Gengar, you beat Glaceon, not very popular picks. You also lose against Gyarados really hard, even though you normally Fire Spin's resisted, but Gyarados just absolutely destroys you. Machamp beats you. You lose against Magnezone. You even lose against Mamoswine. Now, interestingly enough, you do beat Metagross. I think you have to land the Blast Burn, though. So, this is bait dependent. Yes, you must land Blast Burn. If you go straight Dragon Claw, it does, in fact, Metagross, I believe, does win. Yes. You must actually you must actually you have to land Blast Burn. Otherwise, as you see in all scenarios, you lose just straight Dragon Claw. So this isn't a very solid matchup. You also beat Rhyperior, but this is the Mud Slap version. I think if this is SmackDown, you definitely lose. And as you see, you actually have to land the Blast Bird here as well. If you go straight Dragon Claw, I believe they get to a Surf and you lose. Yes, that's also bait dependent. So you technically bait, and you lose against Scizor, Snorlax, Swampert. You do beat Togekiss, but I do believe this is bait dependent as well. If you look at this, I believe it is bait dependent. Yes, it is bait dependent. You need to land the Blast Burn. So, if you actually just go straight Dragon Claw, Togekiss wins. So all of its winning matchups, with I think the exception of Typhlosion, you have to bait in order to win. The Shadow version does flip some interesting things. If you look below here, you actually beat Glaceon. You'll beat Machamp with an Overheat Dragon Claw version. You also beat Magnezone. You beat Zone. You beat Mamoswine. You beat Metagross. You actually flip a few matchups, or potentially, if you have the Shadow Dragon Breath version, which is kind of weird. But yes, it's not likely you're going to find a perfect Shadow Charizard. If you do, I hate you because I'm jealous of you. And it looks like you beat Magnezone just going straight Dragon Claw. You can literally, well, this is the Fire Spin version, yeah. Oh, that's Fire Spin. Oh, I jacked up. Okay, this is the few times. I usually will edit this out, but then, like, you know, we could just, like, think. So I don't think this is... Okay, never mind. That's Fire Spin. As you see here, if it's actually what it was... if it's Fire... Well, that's a good comparison. If you see Fire Spin actually flips a couple of matchups that Dragon Breath does not. Now, if you look at... So, the actual version, Shadow Charizard sucks. Yeah. The only thing you flip is the Garchomp matchup. You don't even flip the Dragon. So that's the only matchup you flip. So Shadow Dragonite, Shadow Charizard with Dragon Breath is not good in the 2 shield. In the 1 shield, you beat opposing Charizards, of course. You do beat Conkeldurr with the Shadow. You beat Garchomp Earthquake with Shadow. So that's not even the standard moveset. You'll beat Shadow Gardevoir. Well, if you're using Shadow Guard, that's not popular, but you do beat it because you resist those charms. You beat Metagross, you beat Scizor, you beat Shadow Snorlax, and you beat Togekiss. But I think Togekiss is bait dependent. So I think everything except, like, can you just straight Dragon Claw Metagross? No, you need to land the Blast Burn. If you go straight Dragon Claw and they call it, you do lose, I believe. Yes, Metagross does win. So that's bait dependent. I think the only, that's the problem, I think, with Charizard from what we've seen so far, is that a lot of its positive matches, with the exception of, I guess, the Mirror, it's really bait dependent. In other words, you have to bait with Dragon Claw, otherwise you lose the matchup outright. That's not good because you're basically going 50-50, or you're really banking on luck in order to win that matchup, as if you have to bait. If you call the bait, that's great, but if you don't call the bait, it's almost an auto loss. Now in a no shield, you do flip Glaceon, you also flip Mamoswine, and you beat Metagross. So you're able to actually take out a lot of metal relevant stuff as long as they don't have shields. So you don't have to really rely on baits. You lose against Togekiss though, sadly. I think it's because Ancient Power does go through, and because Charizard is double weak to rock types, you absolutely get destroyed. As you see here, Ancient Power does 96 damage, it's over half of your HP, and Charizard goes bye-bye. So it's not very promising. I'm guessing with Metagross, you're able to get to the Blast Burn to finish it off. Yes, you do. You get to Blast Burn, you're able to finish off Metagross with all versions. So the Fire type attack is what really ends up actually winning the matchup. If you have the Shadow version, it looks like you lose to 1 Avalanche. So you don't survive an Avalanche, you actually die to it, and that's GG's for your poor Shadowzard. Now, up shields. Charizard is a monster. It looks like it beats everything but Gyarados and Garchomp, at least with the Blast Burn version. And then the Overheat version does lose the matchup against Rhyperior, but very few matchups. This is where, I guess, with shield advantage, Charizard does do very well. However, in Master Premier Cup, it's very hard to save your shields for the back. Or there's just more useful Pokemon like Metagross to where it can dominate so much of the meta rather than save it for a Charizard. Up 2 shields, Charizard actually beats everything but Waterfall Gyarados in the 2 shield. Up 2 shields. Now that might change in the 2-1. So up 2 shields, you'll beat everything but Gyarados, Beat everything but Gyarados convincingly. However, if they do have a shield, you do lose against Electivire, and you still lose against Waterfall Gyarados, but you lose against Snorlax. So you pick up if they're up a shield, you Electivire and Snorlax beat you. So you pick up 2 more matchups. Looks like the Shadow version also loses against Shadow Gardevoir, and you lose against Swampert. But I think is this bait dependent? I think Swampert is a bait dependent matchup though, because if you can't win going straight Dragon Claw, can you? Oh, you can win going straight Dragon Claw, so you can win. You can actually take the matchup going straight Dragon Claw. So 2-to-1 shields. Charizard's still very, very powerful, but that's giving anything with shield advantage has a lot more play. If it's really bad, it won't win up 2 shields, but Charizard can actually win up 2 in the 2-to-1s and the 2-0s, and just being up a shield in general. Now, I went through this really quickly because Charizard, unless it's up shields, isn't really great. In summary, here's where it gets really iffy. The problem with Charizard in Master Premier is just there's too many things in the meta that absolutely destroy it. And a lot of its matchups are really bait dependent. That's the problem with Dragon Breath Zard. Dragon Breath Zard also doesn't get stabbed with Dragon Breath, so if you're trapped, as you saw, like that little mistake I made in the 2-shield analysis where I had Fire Spin at the bottom, Fire Spin Shard, Shadow Zard, it actually had a lot more positive matchups than Dragon Breath does. So if you look at Dragon Breath in the 2-shield, Shadow Charizard, this is regular Master League. As you see here, 63. With Fire Spin, this is regular. Well, this is Open Master, but as you see, its effectiveness drops. And I can see the same being for Master Premier. So, in summary, I would give it a 2 out of 10. As in, I wouldn't use it. 62% is a very good... Well, that's 62 for Charizard. It's just Dragon Breath. I think the percentile is even lower here in the overhead matchup. It's just really bad. Unless it's it's just really bad. As you see here, you do pick up 65% in the 2-shield in the Premier Cup. And then you go to 1, so you pick up 65. The 1-shield. So Charizard's overall, it can take... The reason I give it a 2-to-1 is just because there's too many things that fly around that kill Charizard. Even though it ranks very high, there are way too many things in this meta that absolutely destroy you. It's not even like Haxorus where like, oh, if you lose hard against Charmers or fighters or Dragon Breath users, you could switch out, but Charizard just loses against too many things. And if you look right here, as you see, there's a lot of things that Charizard loses against, and a lot of these aren't even used in Master League. Normally, another reason why I'm rating it so low is because normally Dragon Breath users can actually take out fellow Dragon Breath users, for example, or fellow dragons. For example, Gyarados with Dragon Breath actually beats regular Charizard, actually beats Dragonite. Dragon Breath Zard does not. Dragon Breath is the only Dragon Breath variation that's viable to use for Masters, or not really viable, but like it's the only thing that everyone's really interested in that actually doesn't beat dragons. It actually loses to Sand, to Garchomp, as we analyzed, and also Dragonite. That's why it rates so low. I had a little bit of hope, but it's very understandable why Charizard is not in Ultra Premier rankings. It's just not that good. I wouldn't use it. I would use it if you're trying to be spicy and try to be cool, but other than that, there's nothing other use for there. I would keep it on the bench, use it only for fun, or if you feel like it. Not worth the Elite TM. Because even though Blast Burn does flip a lot of matches, if you use Overheat, you risk the biscuit. And if they do shield Overheat, then you're essentially done. So that's Premier Dragon Breath Charizard. Not great. Don't use it. If you want to use it to have fun, go right ahead. But otherwise, if you're trying to climb, if you're trying to make rank 10, if you're trying to win consistent games, do not use Dragon Breath Charizard. And I will see you guys on the next video.